Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. There are no traffic jams along the Extra Mile when you're studying for your bar exam. And now, your host, Jackson Mummy, owner of the Celebration Bar Review.
Well, hey everybody, welcome to episode 159 of the Extra Mile podcast. This is your host, Jackson Mummy. I'm so glad to have you with us. Here we are in August, can you believe it? And we are getting closer to the first set of released results in early to mid-September from the July 2017 exams. So I know that many of you are just sort of in that waiting period, and I know how difficult that can be. In today's episode, we're actually going to be talking with a passing successful Texas bar exam student, and I'm really excited to share this interview with you, and I'll tell you a bit more about it in just a few minutes, but I hope you'll stick around. It's a great interview. Now, I'd like to just remind everybody that you can listen to this podcast, obviously, on iTunes or in iHeartRadio, but you can also watch this episode by going to celebrationbarreview.com/159. That's 159. And we've got the entire video, including the interview, on video there, and we'd love to have you check out the material on our webpage with the video. Now, I'd also like to invite those of you who are taking the bar exam in 2018 to join me on Thursday, August 24th, to a special 90-minute webinar titled How to Make the Next Bar Exam Your Last Bar Exam. This is a look at the proven and powerful way to pass your bar exam, and it's really a great opportunity to just see step-by-step what you need to do in order to be in a position to pass the bar. And it's totally free, but you do need to register. You can register in a couple of different ways. Just by going to our webpage at celebrationbarreview.com, you'll see a button there. Click on that and you can register from there. Or if you're watching the video of today's episode, just scroll down and you'll see the button there and you can click. Now, the webinar will begin at 3 p.m. Eastern. That's 12 noon Pacific. It's Thursday, August 24th. Seating is limited, so I hope you'll reserve your seat and check that out. We'd love to have you be with us for that special information. Now, as I said, today's interview is one that I'm really excited to share with you. A lot of times people say to me, is there anybody like me that you've ever worked with who's passed the bar? And of course, everyone's situation is unique, but I do hear this a lot from people who failed their bar and feel like things haven't always gone their way. Well, today's student that I'm talking with has a remarkable story. Armando Wally was raised in a single-parent household in Houston, Texas. He made it through school pretty much on his own. He went to night school and then went to law school at night. But the reason he went to law school at night is that during his pre-law school days, Armando had been working in public service, and he actually decided to run for the state legislature in Texas, and he got elected as a representative in his home district in Houston. So Armando was actually commuting between Austin, Texas and Houston while he went to law school. Pretty amazing, huh? And when it came time to sit for the bar exam, Armando took the bar and he used one of the big box bar reviews, and it didn't work for him. And he did that a couple of times, and he was about ready to give up. And then a friend of his, a former student of ours, reached out to him and said, I think there's a course that might be able to help you where you really could get the kind of assistance that you need in order to be successful. And so Armando connected with me, and we studied, and he took our personal course for the Texas bar exam. And on his third try on the exam, his first with us, he passed. Now, I think that's a remarkable story, and you'll hear in his own words all of the challenges that he faced. But I really wanted to share his story because I think a lot of times people believe that they just can't do it. There's just too much going on in their lives, or they didn't come from a privileged background, or they didn't go to the right law school, or you can sort of fill in the blank. Armando, as you'll hear, has an extraordinarily positive attitude about all of those steps and all of the things that happened. And it's really exciting to see him not only as a member of the Texas legislature, but as a member of the Texas bar. And so I really hope that this will be an inspiring and interesting interview for you. And I want to really make sure that we give Armando his due. This was not an easy interview to get, by the way. Armando was right in the middle of session when we did the interview, so it was really nice of him to spend a few minutes with us. So, I don't want to keep you waiting any longer. Let's jump into our interview today with Texas state legislator and passing bar taker Armando Wally. Well, hey everybody, welcome to Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Takers. And this is probably the toughest interview get that I've had in a year, because this guy is super busy and he's got a great story to tell. I want to introduce you to Texas State Representative Armando Wally, who passed the Texas bar exam in July 2016. Hi, Armando.
Hi, good afternoon.
Glad to have you with us. Your office, right, today?
That's correct. We're here in Austin, Texas, at the Capitol.
And you're in special session, right?
That's correct. We're in special session. They called us back after a 140-day regular session. We came back 30 days later, so now we're spending our summer here.
Nice. Well, I really appreciate you taking time out from your busy schedule. Before we hit the record button, I said that I thought that it was important that you share your story, and I want to get into that story and let people kind of find out a little bit about you and what would make a state representative who's got all of that access to information and power and opportunity. What would make you want to take the bar exam and go through all of that? And so I really wanted to back that up. So why don't we start with where you went to school and what happened after you got out of law school?
So I attended the University of Houston here. I'm a local boy, grew up, born and raised in Houston to a single mom. Didn't have a lot of wealth growing up, but knew that I wanted to give back to my community. And after graduating from the University of Houston, worked in the public sector, worked for local elected officials, decided to run for the legislature, and had that okay, now what? After I won my primary, won my election, I said, well, I'd always been involved in government, been involved with the law and public policy. Okay, why don't I, after I got sworn in, why don't I apply to law school? And one, obviously professionally, would have helped me here locally in the legislature, but also in my private practice. To try to, obviously, this is a citizen legislature. You have to earn a living, and so I thought that earning a law degree and getting my bar license would help me in that as well.
So just to be clear, you were going to law school while you were serving in the legislature, correct?
That's exactly right. Just
Wow.
to be clear, so I got elected in 09, started law school in fall of 29 after I got sworn in. So yes.
Wow. That's ambitious. Did you go to school at night? Is that how you were doing it?
Yes. So I did. I'll be full disclosure, and I'm not ashamed. I started in the full-time program. My grades weren't as great, and so they made me transfer to the nighttime program.
Okay.
So I can a better standing with the university. And that's what happened. It did help me. That was a great suggestion by the law school. So I went to the night program. My grades improved dramatically. And you take 3 semesters, 9 hours in the fall, 6 hours in the summer, and then another 9 hours in the spring. So you were going to school at night.
Yeah. So that was a 4-year program, right?
It was a 4-year program, but for the normal 4-year program, it would have been 4 years. For me, it took about 5.5 years, because I'm from Houston. Austin is 2.5 hours away to the west of here. And so I would have to take a leave from law school to come serve in the legislature every odd number of years. So it took me a little while to finish.
Okay. So, I mean, people are kind of catching their breath going, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So you get through law school, and now it's time to take the Texas bar exam. What's that like?
Yeah, it was very difficult, to be honest with you, because my wife was pregnant, and we were going, actually, by the time we had our first kid, my 1L year, we had our second baby when I started studying for the bar, and the kind of chaos that was going on was we were in session for from January to roughly May, and I had applied to another program, test prep program, will remain unnamed, and because everybody said to take it, and everybody lived and died by it, and so I did that program. And that was literally session ended. I started that program in person, and it was just a huge program. They had good information, but I didn't feel it was good enough for me because I ultimately, at the end, didn't pass the bar the first time.
Okay. So you take the Texas bar the first time. You're doing a traditional, what I call a big box bar review. You're sitting in a live classroom. You're trying to catch up and do the work and sort of
Right.
make all that happen. And just again, to consolidate, we're talking about 2 children, being a state representative and all of the demands of that, and studying for the bar. I don't think that's a big surprise that you would have had trouble first time. So then what happens after the first time on the bar?
So the first time, obviously, get results back. I was close, but I was still a little far off, and was devastated, like anybody that. And I've had a lot of ups and downs in my life, and I've been able to handle those. This failure, because for us that failed the bar, it's a huge disappointment because you're let alone yourself down. You have a wife and kids at home, and you have a whole bunch of people that depend on you to pass that bar. But also the public perception, because I'm an elected official.
Right.
Everybody's going to know, particularly that I failed the bar because my name is not on the list. And so that was even more devastating because everybody knew that I failed the bar.
Okay.
And so, but
and by the way, you joined a pretty select group of political public officials who failed their bar exams. But go ahead. And
so, for me, it's my nature. Even when you like in football, I had a lot of football coaches. I mean, you're gonna get hit. You're gonna get hit hard. You're gonna fall on your back. What are you gonna do after that? Are you gonna get up? Well, I decided to get up.
Okay.
And took the bar again, but did the big box score again because they offered it again to me, and I did it on my own, and did the videos on my own, and there was really no one-on-one. I really needed that one-on-one. I failed, and I took the bar again. Instead of taking the bar in Houston, I ended up taking it here in Austin, and I failed again.
Okay. So that's 2 strikes, and for those of you that don't know, you get 5 tries at the Texas bar, so the collar starts to tighten a little bit after a couple of tries, right?
That's correct.
All right. What happens then?
So, pick myself back up, equally devastated as the first time. But luckily you have a good support system at home and a very supportive wife. Love my wife dearly.
Yeah, your wife is a gem.
She's wonderful and put me through law school and have kids and sometimes being by herself, taking care of the kids while I was studying during law school and during the bar. We had a talk, and she said, "Look, you either pass the bar, you either pass it this next time, or you're gonna have to figure out what you're gonna do." Okay. And so, had a friend.
Yeah, Victor Guerra, right?
Victor, because again, everybody knows that you failed the bar multiple times. This gentleman says, "Hey, I have a friend. Let me confide in you that I failed the bar multiple times too, and it wasn't until I got your number that I said, you know what? He said, I think you're the perfect type of student for that program is for you." Okay. And so called you.
Yeah. So
and we talked for a long time, actually.
Yeah. So our mutual friend is Victor Guerra, and Victor is an attorney in Texas now who passed. It was on his 5th try that he passed. So he was really feeling it. Came to me and just did a great job. So Victor contacted me and said, I've got a friend. He's in the state legislature. He's a really smart guy. He really works hard, and he's just not getting any traction on the bar at all. So you and I talked, and what was it about our talk that made you think, hey, maybe this could work for me?
Well, one of the things was, I mean, one is the accessibility, is talking to somebody, even if it's over Skype.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have that human, touch per se,
Yeah.
you still have the human touch and being able to consult and bounce ideas, and actually sometimes to get the feedback, the immediate feedback on the homeworks,
Right.
on the material that's assigned. And actually, to be honest with you, the butt kickings too.
Yeah.
Right.
And we did some butt kicking.
Yes.
Yes.
No doubt. A lot of that. A lot of.
Yeah. A lot, just for people just to get a sense of this, there were a lot of conferences that Armando and I had where Armando had his ball cap on backwards. He's sitting at a table somewhere, studying late at night or early in the morning, whatever it is. He's like all grizzled and, and I'm kicking his butt about something. And he's like, yeah, okay, I got it. And there were a lot of those kind of calls, right? Where it was like, oh man, we're just grinding. We're grinding. So you studied for a few months, but didn't really kick way into gear until relatively late in the game because it was a political season, right?
Yes.
And there was a lot going on. It was not like you could just take off and do nothing but study for the bar. What was that like? I mean, you weren't running for re-election in that cycle, but there was a lot going on, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of extracurricular activities going on, and obviously still have a wife and family, but politically, election seasons are in gear. But we decided that politics was always going to be here, and my priority was, laser focus on passing the bar. However, I was going to do it, use whatever unorthodox methods. But in this case, it wasn't, because I'm a visual learner, and I'm a different type of learner. I tell you, the viewers, I really struggled in law school. My confidence wasn't as high, because everybody in law school is smart, and everybody roughly can write. And so, but I started getting my confidence back once I actually graduated, and I said, you know what, I think I can do this. I mean, I didn't grow up in a traditional home,
Right.
So it wasn't something that there weren't books in my house.
Right.
It just wasn't part of my upbringing. But
Right.
so I had to catch up.
Right. And you did catch up, and I mean, you caught up through law school. You caught up when we started with the Bar Review. You were in our personal mentoring course, so you were sending work to me, and we were talking about that work. And your early work was not very good.
No.
And that was tough. I know it was tough to send it, but one of the interesting things was that, I mean, I think maybe it's your sports background. You weren't afraid to put it out there and take your licks and then get back up and try again, right? Is that an accurate way to describe the process?
Exactly what happened. I mean, I fell down a lot, but for me, I was never going to I wasn't going to ever stay down. That was my thinking.
Right. And so you'd send work to me, we'd talk about it, sometimes bluntly, sometimes maybe a little more, calm, but nonetheless, it was like, okay, here's what we got to do. And then you would go back and take those comments and work again, sometimes rewriting the same piece, sometimes doing other pieces, and following through our syllabus. So you were doing lectures, you were reading, you were doing question practice in all the different aspects, multi-state, Texas, MPT, P&E, all those pieces. And the world continues to revolve. And in 2016, as we know, the world was getting completely crazy politically.
Yeah.
So there's all of this going on, and your family. What did you do to keep your sanity in that process? How did you keep your focus?
Well, you know what? You don't want to oversimplify things either. I think that your suggestion on running every day. And I did in a very, and I'll be honest with you, in a very cheesy way. I did like the Bible quotes and those that component was unorthodox for me. But for me, it did. I think it did add some value to calm your nerves and calm everything. Take it down a notch, because you're so hyper focused and hyper. There were so many distractions going on that going for that run before you start studying helped a lot.
Yeah, I bet it did. How many hours a week would you say you were studying on average? Do you have a sense of that?
Um, it was well over 40.
I would say, yeah.
It was well over 40. I mean,
Yeah.
I was burning the midnight oil
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, we had some conferences late at night,
Yeah.
and you had some work that you were doing late at night, and the kids had gone to bed, and your wife had or put them down, and then
That's
we were
right.
talking. And you know, and you just kept your head down. You just kept working. And one of the things that was so amazing to me was this resiliency that you had. It was like, oh man, you know, he's making progress, but it's an inch at a time. I mean, we weren't making big gains all at once. It was an inch here, an inch here, an inch here. You know,
That's
but
right.
you kept your head down, and you kept working, you kept pushing through. And as we got closer to the exam, and of course everyone else is kind of going, right?
Right.
You had this really interesting kind of calmness about you that was, you know what? I'm going to go in and do the best I can do, right? And
Right.
I've worked hard, and I'm going to just let the chips fall where they may. Is that a fair estimation of the way you were approaching things?
Yeah, no, I think I left it all on the field.
Yeah.
Into the sports analogies
Yeah.
that I worked as hard as I could work, and at the end of the day, if I hadn't passed this last time, I was going to do it again. But I think just being able to do this one-on-one, it helped me out a lot just to get that reinforcement,
Yeah.
to just kind of be calm. I was relatively calm.
You were very calm. You were very calm the week or two before the exam. I was like, this guy should be freaked out, and he's not. And it was really impressive to me. I was like, okay, I understand why he wins his political races, because, you know, he is just, it's like the whole world is in a vortex, and he's just going, you know, straight
Yeah.
forward.
Yes, sir.
So you went in, you took the bar, third time. Did it feel
Yes.
different getting ready? I mean, when going in this third time, did you feel like, okay, I've got some more, you know, tools in my toolkit here than I had before?
No, for me, you know, just like in a lot of, I guess like baseball, more than half of that game is mental.
Mhm.
For me, it was probably more mental than anything cognitively.
Yeah.
And just having that confidence going in
Mhm.
and be calm, and it just, you know, I slept well. It's just something that, you know, obviously I had, you know, you have a little faith too of divine intervention.
Yeah,
I have a lot of faith in myself and, you know, in a higher being. But I think the breaks come to those that you know, work hard.
Yeah, I think you made your own breaks. I definitely think you made your own breaks. I mean, I'm pretty sure that nobody grading the bar exam was looking at it and saying, hey, he's a state rep.
Right.
If anything, that would have hurt you, not helped you. Okay, so you take the exam. Now you're in that waiting period, and then results come out. Do you remember what that was like when you got the results?
Yes. I mean, it was again in my the volatile life that I lead with our family. We got it got to the time around results coming out, and my father-in-law, we thought he was having a heart attack.
Oh my.
So we rushed him to the hospital emergency room, and he ultimately turns out to be okay, but it was kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
And it's me, my father-in-law, and my wife. We're sitting in the emergency with him in the room, actually, in the observation room, and he's all connected to all the contraptions, and he's laying there, you know, sick, and the doctor comes in and said, "Oh, he's going to be okay. He just needs to calm down." And doctor leaves, and it's kind of quiet. My wife says, "Hey, results are coming out today, right?" And I said, "Yes, but I'm not sure." And I was like, "Whatever happens, whatever happens," and ultimately, they like most bars now, they come out electronically before they send you the letter. Well, my wife says, well, why don't you just check the website, see if your name's on the deal, and see if you're okay. I was like, I'm not checking it. It wasn't until a friend of ours, a mutual friend who I'd studied with, the first time I took the bar. So she was checking online, and she calls me and says, hey, you did it. And I'm like, I'm in the emergency room. Don't be messing with me right now. And she goes, no, you passed. I said, I still didn't believe her. I said, well, send me a screenshot of my name on the result. And so she sent me a screenshot, and at the same time, my wife is listening, and I got off the phone and turned to my wife, and I said, I passed. And we just, obviously, it was an emotional moment. I mean, we're all crying, and my wife is crying. We kind of hugged and embraced, and it was kind of an interesting, kind of surreal, because my poor father-in-law is laying in there, and we think he's, having a heart attack, and ultimately he turns out to be okay. But, it was exhilarating. It's just undescribable when you get that confirmation that you are.
Yeah, yeah. One of the reasons that it's a great story, and one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is that we work with a lot of folks who I think are disenfranchised in the legal
Right.
system, in the political system, certainly in the bar.
Right.
I think a story like yours, the success that you've had in life, in politics, in the bar, all of those things really speak to something that's important for us, which is giving people a seat at the table.
That's right.
Can you talk to that a little bit? That sense of,
So, as I mentioned before, part of the reasons I went to law school was, one, I have to obviously earn a living, but one is being an example to folks in my community that,
mm-hmm.
Somebody that grew up in my background, it's no different than any other background. It's a little rougher than most,
mm-hmm.
because, my daddy went to prison when I was in junior high, and so my mom had me when she was 16 years old. So we didn't have I didn't grow up in a culture of going to school.
Right.
And so I wanted to break that cycle and chose public service. Public service is a calling. You don't get rich doing this. But for me, my way of giving back was running for office. And I wanted to be the best legislator. Part of that, and being able to advocate for my community, I don't think I would have been able to do that without my law degree, because it changed the way I viewed public policy, right. In a more profound way, and I could fight better because I have the tools up here, right. Instead of here, right. To fight for my community. Right. The law degree and the law license helps with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think passing the bar really gives you opportunities that you just couldn't have had before. But I also know that your story is going to inspire an awful lot of people. I hear from so many folks that feel like they're ready to give up. They've taken and failed a bar, whether it's Texas or somewhere else. And particularly if they're not from a privileged background,
right.
It feels like it's even a bigger road ahead, or a steeper climb to make it. And so I think when people can see a story like yours, Armando, it's pretty clear that you can do this. It is manageable. It can be done.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just finding the right fit for the preparation, being able to get the assistance you need and the direction you need to make that happen, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. It was a real privilege for me to be able to work with you and to teach you. I learned a lot from you about grace under fire and pressure, but also just an incredible determination, which obviously when you hear your story, your life story, that's really been your life story. One of the things that we are excited about in this time when the rule of law is under attack on a lot of levels, having people who represent a variety of backgrounds and experiences and perspectives, being members of the bar, pretty important, don't you think?
That's extremely important. you name any, the civil rights movement doesn't happen without smart people filing those briefs or finding those grievances, so those issues to fight for. I mean, Brown versus Board of Education. I mean, you have to have had some smart lawyers, and particularly lawyers of color. Because
absolutely.
even today we don't have many.
Right.
But back then was probably even worse. And so I think I feel it's a responsibility of mine, being a person of Hispanic descent. I'm a proud American, born and raised in this country, and I'm about as proud Texan as anybody. I have cowboy boots just like anybody else. But being a person of Hispanic descent, it's much more profound, and there's much more responsibility on somebody like me than I think that somebody else that may have grown up in a privileged home, that had tutors growing up, had access to books growing up, or had whatever resources they had.
So what would you say to a younger Armando who's just going through this process and maybe hasn't passed the bar or taken it and not been successful and feeling kind of discouraged and let down by the process and fears maybe they're never going to become a lawyer? What would you say to that person?
I would say that never to give up, never give up, and from my perspective, I think giving up would be a disservice not only to you, but to your community, because so many people are counting on you. I have a different perspective in that I'm elected, but I think that programs such as this that help you on the one-on-one, because somebody like me does need that one-on-one feedback and just being able to talk to somebody and talk it out is invaluable. It's invaluable, and I would tell that younger me or her that don't ever give up. Don't ever give up.
I think that's great. And you would recommend Celebration Bar Review, I assume?
Yeah, I mean, it to me it was something that helped me, and obviously helped me. I passed the bar. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. The results are ultimately what they are, and I would definitely recommend and I'm hoping I have a young lady at church who failed the bar multiple times, and I'm telling her to call you. So,
Great. Good.
So yeah, definitely recommend it.
Well, Armando, I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. I can see the picture of the State House behind you on the screen, so I know that there are votes pending and things going on. I don't want to keep you longer, but I appreciate so much your transparency and your honesty and sharing your story. I would tell our audience that if you want to kind of keep your eye on a rising star in Texas, this guy is one of them. He's the real deal. And I have so much respect for you, for the work that you did and the composure that you kept and the faith that you exhibited all the way through. When it would have been really easy to give up and really easy to say, I don't have to do this. Why should I put myself through this again? You just kept working. And you're a real testimony to what that means in somebody's life. And I would say that represents the highest values that we would want to see in public service, somebody who just keeps doing the right thing. So we're really not only pleased for you, but we're really proud to be associated with you. And I am so excited to see where your legal life goes, your political life. I know your family life is growing all the time as well. But I just really am excited for what the future holds for you. And I know that as people listen to today's discussion, it's going to open some doors for people. It's going to change some people's minds about what they're capable of doing. And for that, I want to just thank you in advance. I know there are folks that will get a boost of belief and hope, maybe that they didn't have before. The Texas bar can be passed, right?
Yes, it can.
Yeah, it's a tough bar. But
it's a very tough bar, but we did it.
We
Thanks
did
to
it.
you.
Well, thank you. Well, listen, congratulations. Good luck to you. And we will keep an eye on what you're doing and hopefully check in with you. Gosh, I don't know. I mean, we'll see where you go. I have my feeling, a long time I've been in politics, I have a feeling you are somebody to keep an eye on. So I just want to say thanks, and thank you to everybody in our audience for being with us today. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation as much as I have. This guy is a winner. Thanks so much, Armando.
God bless.
Bye-bye. Well, that's our episode for today. Armando's story is a great one, isn't it? Definitely inspiring to me, and I hope it is for you as well. Just want to remind you again that our next webinar, How to Make the Next Bar Exam Your Last Bar Exam, live August 24th, Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Pacific time. Just go ahead and register for free at celebrationbarreview.com or further down on this video page, and we'll see you on the 24th. Until next week, have a great week, and we'll see you along the extra mile. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Extra Mile Podcast for Bar Exam Takers. Thanks for listening to the Extra Mile Podcast for Bar Exam Takers at www.celebrationbarreview.com.